Convener, that's the recording started.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of Johnstone and Linwood Local Partnership. This is the first meeting of the local partnership that has been held remotely, and I must also confirm it is being recorded. This is an important step for the local partnership. As you know, we are not able to hold meetings in public and at our usual locations due to the government guidance on public health measures to tackle the COVID-19 emergency. Therefore, it is important that we take those steps available to us to make the proceedings of this local partnership open to scrutiny, and I can advise that the recording of this meeting will be available to watch on Renfrewshire Council's website following the meeting. To ensure the meeting proceeds efficiently, there are some additional points I need to bring to your attention, and these are: firstly, it is important when meetings are being recorded, it's only the person who is speaking who has their microphone on. This is because on the recording, if the noise from another microphone is picked up, the picture on the recording may move to that other source and detract from what the speaker is saying. So if you're not speaking, please try and remember, mute your mic. Secondly, and for the same reason, it's important there's a short pause between speakers to enable the camera to adjust to the new speakers and also to allow us to get our mute button off, which sometimes get quite a long delay on it. Thirdly, anyone who wishes to speak should indicate this in the show conversation instant message where possible, and this will be brought to my attention. And fourthly, the content of any show conversation in the chat box sent on the Teams system will be shown on the recording. So if you don't want it showing up, don't type it. Members who are accessing by phone only should also put their phones on mute when not addressing the meeting. And before moving on to the agenda, can I ask the clerk to do a roll call of members so it's clear who is present in tonight's recording.
Thanks, Chair. According to my records, I have in attendance Councillor Derek Bibby, Councillor Bill Binks, Councillor Andy Doig, Councillor Audrey Doig, Councillor Alison Jean Dowling, Councillor John Hoot, Councillor Alistair Mackay, Councillor Emma Rodden, Councillor Andy Steele, and for the community representatives I have Leslie Compston, Adele Fraser, George MacDonald, James McLeod, Ian McMillan and Cheryl Thomas. And also in terms of officers, we have Stuart Graham and Kelly from Community Planning, Diane Gillies, Lead Officer. From Committee Services, I have Dave Lowe, myself, Carol McDonald and Julie Barron. Duncan Poe is here from IT to help with any issues. And from the partners, I have Constable Dick from Police Scotland, Alan Cunningham from Renfrewshire Leisure and Karen McIntyre from Engage. If I've missed anyone out, could you just let me know? Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy, and thanks to everyone for giving up their time to come along. We'll move on to the agenda. I see a hand up. Is it Diane? I have Diane Gillies with your hand up. Nope.
Sorry, Chair, that's an error. Having problems with my mouse this evening.
It's just what it is. It's this or nothing, so we'll get through it. We'll move on to the agenda then, and if I bring that up. Right. Do we have any apologies this evening?
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Jacqueline Cameron, Councillor James Sheridan, Margaret Johnston, Margaret Lavery and Thomas Wallace.
Thank you very much. And do we have any declarations of interest on tonight's agenda? Cheryl.
Hi, just Active Community have got an application in, so I'll sit out of that one.
Okay, thank you. Adele.
Hello, yes, it's just to let you know as a declaration of interest for Linstone Housing Association because we've got a grant application in, so I'll step out of the meeting for that point.
Okay. Kirsty?
Yeah, sorry, it's Leslie. Yes, the Toddle Tots, we support this group. Sorry, I know, confusing. We support this group by giving them additional funding as in free rent and things, so take their interest on that one.
Thank you, Leslie. Jim?
I'm involved in the two applications from the Linwood Community Council, so I'll need to sit out on them.
Okay, thank you. Guest I've got with the hand up. Come in, guest, and identify yourself.
I think it's me, Jim.
All right, okay, fair enough. Okay, if that hand goes down there, Jim, I think that's us. If that's all the declarations of interest.
Sorry, Andy, I've got one.
Fire away.
Sorry, Andy.
No, no problem.
George McDonald.
George.
I'm a scout leader with Ford Bank Scouts, so I'll have to keep out that one.
There's going to be quite a bit of stepping in, stepping out. I think we'll get through it the best we can. Thank you, George. Last chance for anyone else. If you've forgotten and an item comes up, you just let us know when it comes up, and that's absolutely fine too. All right.
Chair, could I just say as well, if you leave the meeting, if you keep an eye on the chat, which will stay on your computer, then we can let you know through the chat to come back in once the item's been dealt with.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Let's move on to the first item on our agenda tonight, which is the minute of the previous meeting, which was held, it feels like a million years ago, on the 21st of November 2019. Does anyone have any points they want to raise about the minute of the previous meeting? I'll just take a few moments. Sometimes it takes a few moments for hands to come through. I've got nothing. Can we agree the minutes of the meeting held last November? Sea of blank faces. Somebody say agreed. All right.
Agreed.
Thank you. That's agreed. Second item tonight is the membership of the partnership now. Which officer is going to lead us in on this?
I'll take that one, Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Stuart.
We had one vacancy in Johnstone Linwood local partnership. We've had an expression of interest from Karen McShane, representing Johnstone Dementia Friendly Group. So the members are recommended to consider the application or the expression of interest by Karen McShane to take up the remaining place in Johnstone Linwood local partnership.
Thank you, Stuart. This is an excellent application. I'm delighted to see Karen putting her name forward. Does anyone have anything they want to say about this application to join the local partnership? I don't see any hands going up. There's nothing in my chat box. Can I propose that we accept Karen McShane as a member of the Johnstone and Linwood Local Community Partnership then?
Agreed.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Congratulations, Karen.
Councillor Steele, can I ask to give me a couple of minutes just to give Karen a call and ask her to join the meeting?
Absolutely, no problem at all.
Okay, give me 2 seconds.
Surely. That done. When Karen's with us and we pick this up again, we'll move into the final item, which is the applications. So we're making good time so far. My apologies for sending round an incorrect spreadsheet earlier on. The second one that was sent out is definitely the right one.
Hi everyone, thanks for your patience. Kieran's just going to try and join just now.
Thanks, Tracy. Can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to getting back into a room for these meetings.
Andy, you shouldn't have said you were making good time because you just jinxed it.
There's going to be a strictly enforced deadline of 8 p.m. this evening for football-related reasons.
Oh, I've heard that before.
But the football's not until tomorrow.
See?
I got the wrong day for the football.
Aye.
Put the community first. Never mind the football. Put the community first.
Audrey, you've been put to the kitchen again. Have you been relegated to the kitchen again, Audrey?
No, she's guarding the fridge. I think I'll go.
Could I say, and especially you can pass it on to Councillor Devine, my hubby has not only lost a whole load of weight, he's got 2 notches more on his belt in, so he's actually losing the weight round the tummy, so he's not been raiding the fridge. He's actually been doing really well. Like you, Andy, he's been cycling everywhere.
Cycling is the remedy to all life's ills, but I do remind you this is being recorded, so...
It definitely is.
Councillor Steele, I don't know if you want to just proceed, and then obviously Karen can join us when she can.
All right, just if you could give me a reminder that since the Dementia Friendly Society has an application in, I'll have to bring Karen in as soon as she comes in to declare an interest in that application.
Yeah, I've explained all that to her.
In case I forget, thank you very much. All right then, excuse me, we'll move on to the awards. Item 3 on your agenda, the awards grants section of the evening. As you'll know, I've sent around a proposal. That is just a proposal. It's just a conversation starter. If it's acceptable, that's great. If people want to throw it in the bin and start from scratch, that's also fine. It's an open meeting. So ideas and questions. I see both councillors Doig have their hand up. So ladies first, Audrey.
Thank you, Convener. I did look at your proposals this afternoon, and I'm in total agreement that the 70% for everybody gives everybody a fair share of the request, and I'd propose that we go forward with that.
Thanks, Audrey. Councillor Andy Doig. Still muted, Andy.
You're muted.
You're not, Audrey.
Right, I will do.
Thank you. Right, I think, like as Councillor Doig has said, I think I would agree with that, Andy, because under the current restraints, it would give most people most of what they want, and I think that means that, you know, there's nobody getting particular preference, but we're trying to go forward in as equitable a way as possible. So I would second Audrey's proposal.
Thank you, Councillor. Alison, you were next. Councillor Dowling.
Thanks, Andy. I had trouble with the updated file that you sent, so please excuse me if I miss something.
That's all. I apologise.
No, you're okay. Just before I just let me clarify this in case I do have the wrong end of the stick. The one that I opened, the 70% only applied to the applications with direct reference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the other applications get nothing in effect?
In effect, they're redirected. There are 2 redirected to the Parks, Play Areas and Green Spaces Fund. There are 2 redirected to the Celebrating Renfrewshire Youth Challenge, and 1 for where the date has passed. That leaves around 9, I think, which have partial or no reference to the local priorities, in which I've declined entirely, but that's just a suggestion. It's entirely within the remit of the committee to change that.
Okay, and in that case, can I just, again, sorry for the questions, I just want to make sure I'm in solid ground here. So under the applications for the Parks and Play Fund, that still is applying to the funding that we're considering tonight, isn't it? You said it was redirected, so I'm not sure what that means.
Well, the circular I've sent round would in effect decline those applications, but tell the applicants to put an application into the Green Spaces Fund instead.
Right, okay, got you. Right, okay, in that case, thanks for clarifying that. I do like in principle the idea of the 70%, but there's a couple of applications that I think we should consider that fall out with that, because they don't fall into the first list. And possibly one of the applications on the direct reference list, if I can call it that I think we could maybe reconsider. So if with your permission, I'll do that very briefly.
Fire away, the floor is yours.
There's 3 applications I would like us to look at tonight on partial or no reference to the priorities. Okay. One is Eat Up Surplus Food Hub, yep. And that's on page 53 of the pack. The Renfrewshire Toy Bank, which is on page 67, and Lamont Farm Project, which is on page 71. And I'll just very briefly give you my reasons for supporting those applications, and then finish with the one that I think we should reconsider. If I start with the Eat Up Surplus Food, it's a very small amount of money. I do realise we're oversubscribed, but I do think that given the employment rates and the difficulties across the board that we know about with the pandemic, I think any application that's going to help feed our population should be given a second look if it's not already included in the award. The Renfrewshire Toy Bank, I support that because it's got an established distribution system in place. It's got a proven success in attracting donations and also requests for those donations. So I think that's something that we should look at. And then finally, the Lamont Farm Project. To my knowledge, there is nothing comparable for young people and families to visit in Linwood or Johnstone to Lamont Farm. That offers volunteering opportunities for young people. And also, for me, this is quite important. It's a largely outdoor-based activity, which is important in the times of the COVID restrictions, because it is something that is going to continue being available given the nature of the farm activities. And I think that's something we could be promoting to the people of Johnstone and Linwood to make better use of. And then just to finish my contribution here, if we go back to the applications with direct reference to Johnstone and Linwood, I think all of the applications have got their own merits, but I've picked up on the VE Day celebrations that's been proposed, and that's on page 50. And I think I do support this in principle as a activity. I think it's a fantastic community-based activity, but I do wonder whether, given that the 75th year anniversary for VE Day passed this year on the 8th of May, which for obvious reasons that we know we weren't able to cover this year, unfortunately. I do wonder whether an award of that size would be better if we propose that they resubmit for next year, if Linwood Community Council would consider that, to put this event on next year, rather than tying up a substantial amount of money with something that it might not be possible to actually roll out this year. I queried earlier at the start of the meeting from our officers when the funds have to be used, and it's by the end of the financial year, and I just wonder if it's going to be viable to actually follow up their quite ambitious programme before the money has to be spent. So I would like to whether Linwood would consider withdrawing that application but reapplying for next year, and that would perhaps also give us the benefit of being able to refocus some of the grant money for activities that are kind of more COVID-proof, if you like, because they're based outdoors.
Okay.
Thank you.
A lot to chew over there, Alison. I'm conscious of, I don't want to ask Jim to comment on his application because he's clearly got a direct conflict of interest. You've asked the question, so I will ask you, Jim, if you would be inclined to withdraw the application and resubmit it next year for the 76th anniversary of VE Day.
Permission to speak now, Chair. Would there be a guarantee given that we would be awarded the grant next year?
I cannot give you that guarantee. Nope.
Well, it was quite interesting to hear a councillor who is entitled to attend the community council meetings, who hasn't attended one yet, trying to stop the community council from getting an application for funding. This is, unfortunately, hasn't took place, but this is a lot of interest in the local community in Linwood.
I'm only really looking for a yes or no.
No, but I've got to go a no, because
that's fine.
Everybody in Linwood's up for this.
It's entirely your
except
prerogative.
Obviously Councillor Dowling.
If you carry on making comment on it, you've got a direct conflict of interest and you're now speaking to your application.
Yes, I agree with you. You asked me to make a comment, that's why I'm making it.
I'm asking you to say, would you like to withdraw it or not? You've made it quite clear you don't, so I would ask you to leave it at that. Thank you.
Right, no problem.
So, Alison, the application for VED will continue. I was hoping somebody would certainly mention the EAT-UP application, given, as you say, it's a small amount, it's a very good thing. Could I ask, if we take that one on its merits, can I ask members of the partnership if anyone has any strong objection to adding the EAT-UP application to the 70% award of, to the list of those granted an award? I'm seeing thumbs up, I'm seeing nobody objecting. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. While Karen comes in, and we welcome Karen to the meeting, can I ask Stuart or Tracy to add the EAT-UP application into the granted awards?
Could I just clarify, Chair, is it the full amount or is it the 70%?
That's just what I'm looking for here now, bear with me. It'll be into the 70% pot just now, and we can take it again as a standalone item and discuss whether we want to award the full amount or whether we want to do the 70%. I'll go back to that once we've got Karen formally into the meeting. We're spinning plates at the moment, I'm afraid. Karen, are you with us?
I am.
Excellent. Welcome. Your successful application. Delighted to have you on board. Could I ask you to declare a formal declaration of interest in your application before we go any further, please?
Yes. Sorry, what do you want me to say?
Just that you, Johnstone Dementia Friendly, have got an application in, and that you'll take no part in the decision of that application.
All right, of course. Yes, Johnstone Dementia Friendly Community Group do have an application in for grants, and I will not be taking part in the conversation regarding it.
Excellent, thank you very much. We return to the question of EAT-UP Surplus Food Hub, who are in for £579.36. And it's been suggested and accepted that that goes into the awarded pile. Can I ask colleagues then, do we want to award it in full or 70%? I would move that we award it in full, given the size of the award. I don't see anyone disagreeing. Agreed, thank you. Okay. Alison, that's EAT-UP in the pot and awarded in full. The next one was the Renfrewshire Toy Bank. Bring that up. Renfrewshire Toy Bank are somebody's got a microphone on, I can hear myself in the background. It's not muted. That's better. Councillor Doyle notes that this leaves us less than £500 in the pot, and that is correct. And just to make it crystal clear, anything that we add to the pot from here on in will reduce the pro rata amount of the other ones by that amount divided by 70. So just so as we're all aware of what we're doing. Councillor Doig.
Thanks, Vera. It was a point of information. I take the point that Councillor Dowling made about the Renfrewshire Toy Bank. I'm aware, though, that the Johnstone Business Consortium have a very comprehensive scheme that they've ran in Johnstone for a number of years, where they collect toys and provide toys to local children. Now, what I'm asking is there can the Linwood councillors tell me, is there a comparable scheme in Linwood? Because it would be good if there was, but I don't know. My point is, I think, convener, that the toy bank will be duplicating what the consortium already do in Johnstone, but I don't want to leave the folk in Linwood bereft of a similar scheme. Is there anything in Linwood to compare with that?
Can anyone representing a Linwood area tonight enlighten us? Councillor Audrey Doig, I see you shaking your head. Is that a negative?
Not that I know of, but I know that places like Tesco's and Asda, etc., do have toy sort of baskets that you can leave toys for the poor children in the area, but I don't know which area that covers. But for sure, specifically for Linwood, I don't know of one.
I'll still be inclined to consider this one closely. It is going to be a pretty lousy Christmas for all sorts of reasons, but we'll have a good discussion about it. Councillor Hood, you've got your hand up. Is it on this one? Well, come in anyway.
Sorry, it was earlier on that I was wanting in.
I do apologise.
No, I know it was regarding. Obviously, I agree with what Andy and Audrey said about the 70%. I think it's fair right through the body, but I would, to be honest, I would fully support the VED application, but obviously that will come up later on. The other thing I was wanting to say, which I usually say at most of the meetings anyway, is obviously it's the local partnership, and we stick with the local groups first, and we look after our own first, and then if there's anything left, we'll go out with the group then. And it's something I've always said from day one, that it's a local partnership. So I've had my wee say. And as for the toys, and Tesco do a sort of drop in like the food bank, but I don't know if there's anything else within Linwood that does that. And to be honest, I think somebody maybe should look at that, or even if which got Johnstone Business Consortium can go out with which got Johnstone. I don't know, something that they can look at.
Well, I see in the comments box at the side that Tesco and Linwood do something similar. The Linwood CC have got an application in for this as well tonight. It does seem, despite my comments, to be fairly well covered. Okay, I think I'll probably be inclined, based on what people have said, to continue to decline that application. Can I get a steer from the way people are on how people feel about this? I would propose that we leave the toy bank application in the refuse pile at the minute. Does anyone feel very strong that Councillor Dowling accepted? I know how you feel, Alison. Seeing no hands up. John, your hand's still up, but that's presumably from Alison. Is your hand up to come in again? Councillor Rodden.
Thanks, convener. Yeah, whilst I would normally be very supportive of a project like this, like the toy bank, I think that we've already got applications in that pretty much cover the scope that the toy bank would have in Johnstone and Linwood. So I think, unfortunately, we're oversubscribed. I think we have to make cuts where it's necessary, and yeah, we're duplicating. Okay. If we give the funds to the Renfrewshire Toy Bank.
Point taken. Ian, you have your hand up. If you're speaking, I'm not hearing you, Ian. Put your hand down. Fair enough. All right.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, can hear you now.
Sorry, my apologies. I'm just saying that the Eat Up and the Toy Bank, I think that's fair enough what people are saying. The Lamont Farm, the Lamont Farm project, certainly this has been kicking about for a long number of years, and they generally come to local partnerships, or the forerunners to local partnership, for some money. Now, I know it's been lumped in with a partial or no reference to Johnstone. Now, I'm not entirely sure when they fill in the forms how much information they give about what they do, what they provide for people from Linwood and Johnstone. But certainly from previous experience and current experience, I know that people tend to, from our area, go there for visits and, you know, work with the animals and speak to the people who are experts in this kind of field. And I would be a bit concerned about pushing it out, because I know, again, from previous experience, it very often is struggling with money. And I wouldn't like to see us put them in any danger. Like every other kind of organisation at the moment, they will be struggling. And I know they provide volunteer options for young people as well. So again, I wouldn't like to see that being harmed in any way. Although it's not based in our area, but I do know from personal experience that people from this area go there to visit, do volunteering work and, you know, and take a general interest in the whole thing. So I wouldn't like to see it just kind of getting pushed out. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we have kind of competing opinions on this, so we'll have to move to a decision on them. Can I take these each in turn and just make sure that we... Councillor Doig, give you your hand up again. You're still in mute, Andy.
It's important in politics, Convener, to be consistent. When this same application came before the Villages LAP recently, I did speak up for them because they do a lot of work in relation to mental health issues and using animals for therapy in relation to helping people with mental health issues. They do, for example, I know they go to Lilias Day in Kilbark, and they may well have interaction with other community groups that are in Johnstone and Linwood because of the work they do, because mental health is so important now, and rightly so. I think I would be inclined to agree with Ian and with Councillor Dowling that I think we should give them some kind of award.
All right, thank you. As I say, I want to now move to a decision on these three, whether we award them or whether we don't. I'm fairly sure if... Is somebody coming in? No. The Eat Up Award, I think we've agreed to award in full, unless anybody wants to contradict me. I'm sure that was done. The Renfrewshire Toy Bank, the feeling from those who have spoken is certainly that it would be duplicating effort and that we should refuse that application. Can I hear from anyone who feels very differently? There are no hands up. There is nobody in the chat box. Nobody's waving at me, so I'm going to propose that we leave the Toy Bank application in the, well, bluntly, the refused pile, unfortunately. And if we move on to then the Lamont Farm project, it's an application for, if memory serves, £4,000. It is £4,000. There's a comment coming in, excuse me. £10. We give them that. I'm not entirely certain what that's referring to. I'm sorry. If we could just stick to the Lamont Farm one at the moment. Ian and Andy both make good points. Councillor McCulloch, I think it was, made the same points at the Villages one as well. I don't have a particular opinion one way or the other. I'm happy to... Councillor Audrey Doig wishes to speak.
I was just checking the list of what we had agreed, the 70% on the local ones, and the least amount we'll give because of the 70% is £210, and we don't have a lot of money left in the pot. So what I was suggesting was that we give £210 to Lamont Farm, because that's the least amount that we can basically give them, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So we're not going to affect the others too much. You know, at least we've got that within the boundaries of what we can give.
I'm not entirely certain approving it and giving them £210 is, I don't wish to speak bluntly, but it's not entirely worth doing. If we're going to give them £210, we'd really be as well just refusing it and having done with it. From what little I know about them, and that's largely from what people have said at these kind of meetings, they're going to need a bit more than that. I don't have a problem.
If you give them thousands of pounds, it means there'll be less money for the local ones. And £2,000 is an awful lot, considering that not a lot of them even have gone asking locally for that.
Yes,
so,
it's a fair point, Councillor, and I'm happy to bring you in to move the direct negative. I would inclined to agree with the point that's been made that although it doesn't have the word Johnstone or Linwood in the title, it certainly helps people from Johnstone and Linwood in a very effective way. So I would be happy to move it, that we move it into the 70% pile. You are perfectly entitled to move that we don't, and we'll go to a roll call vote or however we want to work it out. But I would certainly move that we move it into the 70% pile. And I'm aware that that is going to impact on the other ones, but I still think it's of a sufficient value of an application to do that. I'm going to need a steer from members of the committee now. Audrey, do you want to move direct negative of that?
I don't want to move a direct negative. I'm just wary that the rest of the groups won't get 70%, because if you move them into that, it then takes the amount beyond what we basically have to give.
Mm-hmm. It's going to reduce it to about 67.5%, which is not as good as 70, but it does still ensure that everyone's getting a decent slice of the cake, and Lamont Farm is going to be part of the people that are able to get that slice of the cake. And I'm happy with that. If I see you nodding. Fair enough. Fair enough. Unless anyone, Councillor Hood, you've got your hand up again.
Right, thanks. I think Audrey's got a point there. I think sticking to my guns regarding local which got a
you are consistent, councillor,
and I which got a if she wants a seconder, I would second Audrey on that one definitely.
Okay, Audrey, it's your call.
Well, let's take comment from some of the groups. How do they feel about not getting the 70%, getting 67.5%? Well, you know, that's the way I'm thinking.
Quite all right, Stacey, glad you're here. I'm not entirely certain I would be comfortable asking them to that, because given that they've got applications in themselves, this is an absolute, oh dear me, I don't like this setup at all. Councillor Dowling, and bring some wisdom to the floor.
Well, I'll do my best, Andy. Thank you. I was actually going to suggest that we looked at a very slight reduction of the overall, so that the farm can be brought into the pool. And if 67.5, if that's around about where we're looking at, I think that's something I would like to go with. I would like to stress that while I completely support the principle of looking after our own, this is a local partnership, of course, and that's why I support all of the main body of the applications, and indeed the DED application. I merely suggested that it was reallocated to next year rather than this year because of time pressures, amongst other reasons. But I do support it as a grant application. But I do reiterate, as other speakers have tonight, that Lambeth Farm has provided a service to the residents of Johnstone and Linwood. You don't have to have the name in something for it to be of use to that local community. I think that must surely be self-evident. We know for a fact that high school students from our high schools in the constituencies have done volunteering work. The schools are visited, families use it. You all have a personal experience of people in the constituencies telling us that they use it. So given that there's nothing comparable in Johnstone or Linwood, you know, for children, for example, young adults who are looking at a career working with animals, looking for that kind of work experience, there's nowhere else they can go locally other than the local farms. So I think to say that it's not a local application is a little bit inaccurate, to be honest. It's just semantics here. It is used by local people. So my proposal is that we do look at the 67.5, and I think that's fair.
Okay. Let me see if I can try to bring this together in the spirit of compromise. Would it be acceptable? This might confuse the issue further, but I'll throw it out there anyway. Would it be acceptable to move the Lamont Farm, I was right the first time, into the awarded, we award at 50%, £2,000, thus awarding them a reasonable amount of money that will allow them to continue doing what they're doing, but to a degree protecting the other applicants and giving them a reasonable amount. And while people mull that over, Councillor Rodden has her hand up.
Thanks, convener. Yeah, I just wanted to suggest I completely agree with the 50%, and I think there might well be some events, as Councillor Dowling said, that can't go ahead, so therefore can't spend the money. So if the money comes back, then we look at it again and see if we can award a more generous sum to all of the applications, including Lamont Farm.
Thank you. Councillor Mackay, then Councillor Hood. Councillor Mackay.
Thank you. I thought you hadn't seen my hand up or my question in the dialogue box. Before we go with this, can I just ask a question about the dementia-friendly group? Because that may have some influence on what's in the pot. I'm a great believer in dementia-friendly groups for various reasons. But I see in their request for funding, they've asked for funding for tables and chairs. And depending on the venue, the venue may already have tables and chairs, which may mean that expenditure is not necessary. If that expenditure for tables and chairs was not necessary because the venue already has them, would that make a difference?
Alistair, could I ask that we clear up this little pile of applications first, and then I'll bring you back in to discuss
All right.
the dementia-friendly one. I'm aware that there's an awful lot of stuff being thrown on the table here, and I would like to tidy this little corner of it before we lay another course, so to speak. I have Councillor Hood, then Leslie.
Can I ask a question? How much money has Planet Farm actually got from the grant boards? And is the full amount, which quite £4,000? And have they only went to a couple of the partnerships? If I can get sort of some clarification in that.
I have absolutely no idea, is the honest answer. Is any officer able to provide that information?
Yeah, I think Lamont Farm have applied to most, if not all, of the local partnerships. So they have been successful in some areas, but not in other areas, I believe. But yeah, they have applied to a number of them.
Okay. To throw yet another plate on the table, if I could just say to IT support, I've just got a message flashing up saying my computer is about to restart. So if I disappear off the face of the earth, I'm afraid that's why it'll be. And I cannot get this message to disappear either. And it's blocking the chat box, which is just wonderful. I'm sorry about this. It's not the ideal way to do this. I can't see the comments in the chat box because of this restart message. So if I'm ignoring anyone, my apologies. Audrey, I can see your hand waving. I'll bring you in. No, wait a minute. It was Leslie. Sorry, Leslie, then Audrey.
Hi there. Just a sort of a non-councillor sort of aspect of it, and more a community aspect of it, coming from a member of the community. Lamont Farm is heavily used by the local nurseries in Linwood, as well as myself as an organisation, Class Care, and it supports a number of volunteers with mental health issues that I know of personally. I would absolutely welcome 50% of their ask to go forward with it. Although it's not based on it, it's a much valued aspect of our community, and 50% I think is more than generous.
Okay, thank you for that. Audrey, bring you in next.
On the arguments that have been put forward about putting different things forward, I would then go with putting Rainbow Turtles application in, because they provide fair trade education throughout the whole of Renfrewshire schools. So if we're going to go with one that goes over the thing, I would propose that we put Rainbow Turtle in as well.
Well, I'm going to certainly not accept any more after these three, because we're going to get to, I think, after this, it's a tipping point, and it's not an ideal setup, but we are oversubscribed, and you at some point have to draw the line, and I certainly won't support that, but you're entitled to put that forward. I have a lot of hands up. I'm not certain if people are wanting to come in or if they just haven't lowered their hand. Councillor Hood, your hand's still up. Leslie, your hand's still up, and Alison, your hand is still up. You're all right, John. You're all right, Leslie. Alison, are you coming in again? I see Andy and Alistair waiting to come in after this. Can't hear Alison, so I'll bring Andy back in. Councillor Doig.
Right, thanks, Kavina. Yeah, I think I've been persuaded by what Leslie Thompson said, who confirmed my own thoughts about, the benefits of Lamont Farm. I think the 50% award would be fair.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. That's grand. So I'm trying to do two things at one time.
Hi, Andy.
Alison.
Sorry, the mic was a wee bit slow in coming on.
No
I
problem.
just wanted to come back and would also support the proposal for the 50%, and perhaps if any underspends occurred because other projects couldn't use grant monies, we could look at maybe topping that up. But I would certainly support the 50%. I just want to give one last bit of information. According to their application, the running cost of the project annually is 45,000. The value that they're applying for from the partnerships is 28,000, which is 4,000 per partnership area, and they contribute 14,000 of their own funding toward the project. So that helps them and also with deliberations.
Okay.
What they're applying for is 9% of the full cost from us tonight. So I would support 50% going forward as a starting point.
Thank you. Councillor Mackay, you had your hand up.
Yes, I appreciate all these other applications that fall outside the direct reference group have their own merits, but I do encourage you to consider the direct reference groups as a priority and direct the ones outside to maybe alternative sources of funding, if at all possible.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I think that from those who have spoken, the general feeling is to award the 50%, but I don't want to assume that. So this might be very unwieldy, but Stuart or Tracy, could we take this to a roll call vote? I'd like to move to a decision because we do have other ones to get to. So I think we've heard a good amount from people on both sides of it. I think we have to move to a decision now. I can't see a better way of doing it than a roll call vote.
Could I just clarify what the motion and amendment is then? So the motion
would be to award 50% to Lamont Farm.
And that's yourself that's proposing that, Councillor Steele?
It would be, yes.
And do you have a seconder?
Who would like to second?
I'll second it.
Who was that, sorry?
That was Ian McMillan.
Ian McMillan.
And do I have a proposer for an amendment?
That's it. Anyone? We do not have. I'm very hesitant to say there's nothing because, as I say, I've got a pop-up blocking my view. Could Clark help me out here? Is there anything?
Yeah, I don't see Councillor. He's put his hand down. I don't see any hands up or anything in the chat box.
All right, well,
that, so it seems that would be agreed.
Okay. Right.
Councillor Mackay, can I just double check? Are you opposing the 50%? I think Councillor Mackay's maybe frozen. I'm not sure.
No, his eyes are moving.
Oh, I can hear.
Sorry, I was just urging the convener just to be guided by the applications for direct reference, but it's obviously up to the majority people.
Well, if we don't have any amendments or direct derivatives to the motion to award 50%, then it's carried that the Lamont Farm will go into the awarded pot, but will receive 50, not 70% of their application value. Thank you very much. That was extremely robust. That's what we're meant to be doing. So, Councillor Mackay, I'm going to bring you back in again now because you wanted to speak to the dementia-friendly application, didn't you?
I did. As I said, very valuable resource. However, I noticed that they're making an application for funding for tables and chairs. And obviously where they go to different venues, I mean, there is reference made in their application to St Anthony's Primary School. Now, I would imagine they or most halls have their own tables and chairs available. So they might find that they don't have that expense over their heads. And I was just wondering if I could have some greater clarification on that.
I am not entirely certain how I'm going to go about getting you that because I can't bring in Karen to answer because she's got declaration of interest. So are any officers able to assist us in that inquiry?
Thanks, Councillor Steele. I mean, really just what we have in front of us in terms of the application, it is primarily about the purchase of tables and chairs, and the amended application which was sent round was kind of emphasising that there was more tables and chairs needed because of the social distancing recommendation. So I can only imagine that the group itself have thought that through before making the application.
All right. Leslie?
Just talking from experience with delivering a service from St Anthony's, I can honestly say that tables and chairs wouldn't be appropriate use for in the dementia group. Just having experience with these groups as well, quite a lot of the users are in wheelchairs. The tables and chairs that's mostly used for the communal areas are too small because it is primarily a primary school. So it's just a point to make sure that everybody's aware of that the tables and the tables that are used in the canteen as well, which have got the little chairs attached to it, I'm sorry to put the cat amongst the pigeons, but I really don't think they would be appropriate to be used for a dementia-friendly group.
That's extremely helpful, thank you. Alistair, does that satisfy you? That seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just that I do know that certain village halls and church halls and the likes do have their own tables and chairs, and that was just the question I was interested in. Thank you.
Perfectly reasonable question, Councillor. Thank you for raising it. Okay, now the floor is open. I don't have any hands up, I don't think. Does anyone wish to raise any of the other applications? Where have they gone? And the 70%. I would like to. I would actually like to bring up the issue of the first application in your pack, the Greenside Carers, who are in for £300, and we're proposing awarding 210. I don't know how people feel about dipping into the pot for an additional £90. It doesn't seem outrageous to me. Ian, you've got your hand up.
It was just a general point. I can understand why you're doing the 70% because it makes things an awful lot easier. I get that, and it gives everybody a certain share of the cake, and I get that at all. But yeah, I'm not asking to change it. I'm just making the point that we might be giving groups maybe a bit more than maybe they should be getting, and we might be giving some groups slightly less than what they maybe if there was a discussion on it. So I'll just kind of put that out there just for people's thoughts. But can I just ask, it's a specific question, but a general question. I see there's 2 applications in from schools. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the kind of current policy if a council department applies for money? And I'm talking specifically about the Thorn. The Thorn seems to be Thorn Primary. It just seems to be the Thorn Primary, although the Auchinlodman Primary School one has got a learning centre in it as well. So basically my question is, it used to be the case that to get round this, it would be parents, teachers associations, school boards or whatever would apply for this, or friends of such and such a school. But I just want to know what the current policy, if there is a policy, in terms of another council department applying to the council for money. Now, I'm not against the projects because the projects are very good, but I just want to know if it's acceptable to give money to another council department who already gets funding.
Very difficult for me to answer, Ian, because as you'll know, I believe it's going through Active Comms, which is slightly Renfrewshire Leisure related, and Renfrewshire Leisure, my computer's doing all sorts of weird things, excuse me. Renfrewshire Leisure is something which I struggle to get my head around. I don't know is the honest answer to that question. I can't. You're going to have to excuse me now. I don't have access to my screens while Duncan is very kindly fixing the problem I had.
Yeah, sorry, can I come in on that?
Yes, of course, please do.
The guidelines that were sent out in terms of the eligibility criteria says community planning partners can submit applications for funding, but council services cannot. Community planning partners should not submit applications for projects that are regarded as core functions. That clarifies it.
Okay. Not particularly to me, but thank you anyway. I'll bring you in a second, Andy. Don't panic. What I would say is that if the feeling of the partnership is that these applications shouldn't be entertained, it is certainly in the partnership's power to make that part of the constitution. There's no hard and fast rules here. Councillor Doig, then Councillor Hood. Still on mute, Andy.
No, I support. Hi, Convener. I support the 2 schools applications because I think they're really important for the community. When it came to the villages LAP, there was some schools from my own ward who had applied, and I supported them because it's important. But I think in the future, the whole point about changing the old local area committees to local area partnerships, we're going to look at different things in the round and maybe identify weaknesses that emerged in the system. And I think Ian McMillan's question is entirely fair, and it's one that I've thought about as well, that is Stuart saying that because Renfrew Leisure is an ALIO, it can apply for money as a core function for the council, and yet it's governed by a board which is convened by a councillor, and there's other councillors on it. That seems to me very much a conflict of interest, and I don't think we should decide a separate position for our LAP, because that would be unfair to the schools in our area. But I think maybe all of the LAPs need to decide what the view is in this. Okay.
Fair point. Councillor Hood, and then Leslie.
Right, thank you. I can understand where Andy's coming from. As it always used to be, schools couldn't really apply for grants from the local area committee, and it was always the parent council or friends of the school. So I definitely think we need to look at this for future sort of reference, and maybe go back to the council and see where we can go from there. Okay. The other thing I was going to ask was a number of applications like the VE Day celebrations, the Alternative to Christmas Lights switch on, and the Johnstone Business Consortium Christmas Market. Can us, as a partnership, actually contact the council and ask if there's anything else that the council can give to these groups to help, even if it's just, I know you get some help with stewards and stuff like that, but if we can ask them if there's any help that we can give these groups in moving these things forward.
I see absolutely no reason why not, Councillor. Leslie, were you up next?
Yeah, thanks. Just going back to the schools application, I'm all for the schools promoting the health and wellbeing, and that's exactly what they're doing. But I think we should look closer at actually what they're asking for. There's a considerable amount of funds asked for coaching. Active schools get a big budget to do this type of stuff as well. I'm just wondering if we are, again, double handling and double funding some of the things. The other things that they're asking for, the football strip, the netball strips and other wee bits and pieces, I don't have a problem with, but I'm afraid I do have a problem with the coaching when active schools do have a quite a large budget, and also they get priority in the lets as well. So even if an external person wants to come in and do these types of stuff, I'm afraid that is quite a lockdown situation there. And it was just to make you aware of that. Thank you.
Well, I'd be happy to take these points back to the council and bring it to the. When we're finished with the award ceremony, we'll have to raise an item not on the agenda, which is the date of the next meeting, which is somewhat uncertain at the moment. But in as much as there will be another meeting, I'd be more than happy to bring a report back to it, and we could have it on the agenda, and we can come to a decision on how we want to proceed from there. I think Andy's point is quite right. Disadvantage in Johnstone and Linwood alone would be cutting our noses off to spite our faces, but they're fair points, and I think they deserve a good bit of discussion when we've got the space to do it. Adele, are you wanting to come in?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Steele. I just wanted to make an inquiry about Linstone's bid for funding, and I note that it's under the priorities that are applicable to the Parks, Play Areas and Green Spaces Fund. I just wondered when there's two bids have come under that category, when will these bids be looked at, or are they going to be approved tonight?
No, they would have to be submitted to that fund.
Oh, I
and
see.
Then they would go through the normal procedure.
I see. So do you know if there's a cut-off date for making these applications?
No, it's an ongoing fund. The final date for them will be when the fund runs out, but there's a good several £100,000 left in it at the last.
I see.
And the awards are made at each board cycle, so every bi-monthly.
Yes.
If it's below a certain amount, then it can be delegated to officers, and if it's above a certain amount, it goes to the, I think it's the Communities Board, but I could be wrong on that, I'm sure. It's just nodding, so
yeah, it's Chaps Board, yeah.
Yes, okay. So if I've got any, I can look on the website to get some more information about that.
I'm quite certain Stuart will be happy to fire an email across to you. And
that'd be lovely.
No
Thanks
problem.
very much. Thank you.
Ian, is your hand still up from your previous, or are you wanting back in?
Convener, could I ask a question?
By all means.
I'm having a look at this on primary, and I take on board everything that everybody has said. But I noticed it says that the activity is delivered in partnership with Active Schools. But the coaching staff, I mean, there's obviously a reason why they're wanting to apply for funding for separate coaching staff. And I know that Active Communities do school activities, but that doesn't mean to say that they should be the only ones that get consideration for the funding for that. There is other people out there that can do as good a job as Active Communities in that field.
I didn't quite pick that up. Are we talking about the Active Schools application or Active Communities here?
No, it's on primary school. I'm having a look at the bottom and it says that the activity is delivered in partnership with Active Schools.
Right.
So if they're applying for £3,400 for coaching staff, funding is obviously already made available for Active Schools to provide coaching, but there must be a reason why they're applying for £3,400 to pay for somebody else over and above that.
Yes, they're certainly not applying for the money for it to sit in their bank account. I don't have an answer for you, is the honest answer, Alison. Trying to find.
I can maybe come in on that, Councillor Seal.
Please do.
So it's just to clarify, it's Active Schools, which is part of Venture Leisure, and not Active Communities, which is the community group, which I think is the point that Cheryl's also made there. And speaking to Active Schools, I understand that yes, there is funding in place that was granted by the council, but this is an additionality for the specific school that they're looking for, so it would be in addition to the funding that's already in place.
Right. I think it's coming across loud and clear that it's not the most elegant method of providing funding for this, but it is the one we have in front of us just now. As I say, I'm more than happy to come back to the next meeting with a report on it, and we can go through it and find detail at that point once we've got all the details, and we can ask someone from Active Schools and maybe someone from RL to come along and they'll be able to provide the information that people are looking for here, because I don't have the information to give you the answers you're looking for, I'm afraid, at this moment. Ian, are you coming in again? Oh, okay. Adele, your hand's still up, but is that from your previous inquiry, or are you wanting in again?
Sorry, I'll just put my hand down.
That's good. Thank you. Now, are there any other inquiries? Councillor Hood, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I'll put my hand down.
Okay, no, so we're getting there. I don't have anyone left in my list that wanted to come in. Now, although we broadly agreed to 70% in the box, that it doesn't preclude us discussing any other ones that any members of the committee want to raise in specific detail. Does anyone wish to raise any of those applications? Tracy or Stuart, could you clue me in if there's anything in the chat box? I can't see it again. I don't see any hands. I don't see any faces. Okay.
Nothing in the chat box.
Right, you are. Can I propose then that we, I'll move the awards that are in the 70% box with the addition of the ones that we've added tonight, if members of the partnership are agreed. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Hood, your hand's up again. Sorry, John, did you want in?
Yep. It's not 70% anymore, is it?
It's going to be slightly less. Pro rata down, yeah.
Just a technical issue.
No, you're quite correct, because it's on a recording, so there I am, guaranteed 70%, and I've not got the cheque to cash. The money to cash the cheque my mouth is issuing. Councillor Doig. You are on mute.
Hi, Convener.
There you are.
I was to say that, given your earlier point that you made, you'd be happy as the convener to get some kind of report brought back to the next meeting of the LAP in relation to the interaction between Active Schools and, core funding and applications. Could you talk to your other colleagues who are also conveners of LAPs to make sure that that happens in all the LAPs? Because I'm happy for us to look at it. I don't think we should look at it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should all the LAPs should look at this, because it's something that affects them all.
I cannot speak for other conveners as well.
Well-
You know, I can certainly raise it with them, but what I can guarantee is we can have it as an agenda item the next meeting we're having.
I think we should have a discussion on it. Yeah,
aye, absolutely. Well, that's cool. That's cool. That's us. The date of the next meeting would normally be the final item, ladies and gentlemen, but I am not in a position to tell you when the date of the next meeting is going to be. I'm terribly sorry, but we are where we are. IT support have told me they can fix my restart thing, but I think we're just about to wind up the meeting. So thanks, but we'll do that in a wee minute.
Councillor, can I just, sorry, interrupt, just to clarify, obviously the position in terms of the grants.
Yep.
So we're going to grant all the applications in table 1 with a slightly reduced percentage, and officers can work that out.
Yep.
And we're also granting a full amount for the ETUP application and 50% for Lamont Farm project.
That's correct.
So whatever's left from that, then we just adjust the percentage for the rest of the groups, yeah?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for putting up with this technological miracle that is the computer, at least for having the meeting at all, which didn't look like we were going to do for quite a long while. But thanks to you.
Vote of thanks to the chair.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks to you all for your patience and for your contributions.
Well done.
Well done.
I'll bid you all good night. Thanks again.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.